Welcome to Kangaroos, the podcast. Good morning, Rachel. Guess what is special about today?
We have a sponsor.
We have a sponsor.
Yeah.
Posh Franklin. If you go into Posh Franklin, which is on Main Street in downtown Franklin, it's a beautiful little boutique, and you mention Kangaroos, you will get a 15% discount. Not shabby.
I mean, you can't beat that.
How
Who
fun.
doesn't love a discount?
Posh Franklin. Posh Franklin. So now, welcome to the episode. We've got a question of the day. Today, Rachel, I would really love to know, what is your favorite cookie?
Oh, there are so many. I would like to say I like a dark chocolate chip cookie that's salted. Pretty basic. I don't like them to be crunchy. I don't like them to be super gooey. I like them to be chewy. So in the middle of gooey and crunchy, like the edge is maybe a little crunchy, but the middle is soft.
Should we go out on a limb and say, like, no big box store preservative laden cookie is a good cookie?
Like I don't want Chips Ahoy or any of that. Like I either want it to be homemade or at a bakery somewhere.
Okay. So dark chocolate chip.
Yeah, dark chocolate chips. Milk chocolate sometimes I think is just too sweet.
What
about you? Favorite cookie?
One of my mentors back in Dallas, his wife is a baker, and she makes these molasses cookies that I'm pretty confident are salvific, and they are so good. They're so good. I don't know if she puts magic in them or sprinkles love on top. They are hands down my favorite cookie. Molasses cookies.
Molasses cookies. Those are good.
Hers specifically.
Again, okay. So are they crunchy or are they sort of soft?
They're soft. They're oh man, they're so good. They're so good.
Yeah. I like a good chewy cookie. I don't like them to be hard and crunchy, but I don't want them to be like where you can't hold them together either because they're so soft and not really baked. It's all about the texture.
I do. I like some crunchy cookies, like Tate's. Have you had Tate's? You can find those in the grocery store. Those are preservative laden. They're like crispy butter. It's great.
I feel like they're overrated.
Oh man. All right.
Maybe if you put ice cream in the middle and made them an ice cream sandwich.
Okay. Ice cream makes everything better.
It would be acceptable because it would be like the way you eat ice cream, like a waffle cone. But I'm not probably just going to pick up a Tate's bag of cookies and feel tempted to eat them. I'm going to be like, meh, it's fine.
Meh.
It's fine.
Rachel, what is our challenge of the day?
Challenge of the day or the week is to share a client review as a post or in your stories. So surely you're getting feedback from clients. That's just a great piece of content that you can repurpose on your socials. Let's go ahead and do that.
Let's go ahead and do that.
Go ahead. Let's get started. What are we talking about today?
Today, we're talking about one of my favorite things, how to network well. I really love people. We've talked about this a lot in here that if you want to have coffee, I would love to meet you for coffee. I love to find out all about people, what makes them tick, their history, their dreams. Like, I love people. I love it. If I could make money being a professional networker, that's what I would love to do. I don't know that you can make money in that profession, but I love to take what somebody needs and connect them with somebody that has what they need. Connecting people it's a really, I love it. It's one of my favorite things. So it's been said in books that successful people foster their network. So it is all about who you know, less about what you know, but how do you spend significant time on building a network? So we've got 10 easy tips on how to network well.
We love a good list.
We do love a good list. Long ago, I read a book called The Curious Mind, or A Curious Mind, by Brian Grazer, who you might know is the producing partner of Ron Howard. So they made A Beautiful Mind, and then he wrote a book called A Curious Mind. And in this book, he walks through the similar idea of like how he just wanted to get to know people and why he has this insatiable curiosity of other people. And when I read this book, I was like, oh my gosh, somebody has finally written the book that is also my life. And I took some of the tips that Brian wrote about, and I immediately reached out to a guy on Instagram. And he was a designer here in town, and I was like, I want to get to know this guy. And I meet him for coffee, and he's like, hey. I'm like, hey. And I didn't know what else to say. Like, I was so nervous meeting a random first person for coffee. And we just kind of stared at each other for a moment. And then he took the lead in the conversation and explained his process and how he had gotten started. And it was so wonderfully awkward that it's one of my favorite memories. I haven't talked to him about this ever. If he felt the same awkwardness or not, I should reach out to him and see. But it's one of those deals. Like, step number one is you just got to get started. You just got to go. You just got to reach out to that first person and set up your first coffee. So if you need a massive amount of people in your own network, you got to start today. There was a buddy of mine that his wife has a very successful blog. And so people would always ask him, how do you get started? And he was like, man, you should have started 2 years ago. That was his canned answer. Like, you got to start 2 years ago on everything you do. So put your time in, but you got to start today.
Next is
number two.
Number two. Andrew is so passionate about this that I feel like I don't have much to contribute. I do love networking. I love people too. Andrew's just more extroverted than I am. So it comes more naturally, maybe. Speaking of, do you have to be an extrovert to network well?
No way. Introverts might have a harder time. But I think that I have found introverts to be much more sincere, or they can be much more sincere than the life of the party guys. So I'm somewhere in the line in between the two. I'm definitely not the life of the party, but I love people. I love it. Okay. Number two. Number two. Why are you doing this? Like, what is your plan? How are you going to go after a very specific group of people or sect of people? So we've talked a lot about this in the past, where you need to find your specific audience who you're going after for your profession, but also you need to target an audience for your network. So those could be the same, but they could also be very, very different. So what you need to do is just figure out who your audience is. Easy peasy.
Easy peasy. I have a question.
Yes, ma'am.
How do you network well? And I'm going rogue, so Andrew doesn't know I'm about to ask him this. Mm-hmm. How do you network well without making the other person feel like you're only interested in what they can do for you?
Great question. So I think there's a level of care that you actually want to get to know them. It's not about who they are or what they can offer you. Like, no, I just want to get to know you. And in that, I will be able to then figure out like hobbies that you're interested in, or some weird skill set that you have. And you're like, oh, I didn't realize that you are a magician and a clown on the weekends. And you know who needs that is this other person I know, that they were actually looking for clowns. It's weird. And so then I love to just connect those two people. But if I was just walking in and you're like, I already know this, and this, and that's what I'm going after, then, I really love to take rabbit trails and get to know the person. So actually care, so just care.
Really just like a connecting point more than just how we're going to, quote, use each other.
Right. Yeah. Which is a great segue to number 3. It's not about you. It's not. Follow the conversation, take those rabbit trails, ask a ton of questions. So this is not an opportunity for you to share all about your life story. It is an opportunity for you to learn all of their life story. So be inquisitive, ask a lot of questions.
In that same vein, the way that you ask those well might be number 4, which is to be prepared. So know a little bit about the person that you're going to meet. Maybe it's someone that you sort of know and you're just trying to dig deeper. But if this is a person that maybe someone else has connected you with, take some time to ask questions of your mutual friend. Like, what is this person like? Can you give me some of their background? What brings them to this particular profession or hobby or whatever that is? Do you know those things? Do you know anything about their family life? All those things. So ask questions so that you can carry conversation and don't maybe have as much awkward silence.
Who doesn't love good awkward silence?
Oh, you know.
Brian Grazer talks about the time he got to meet Jonas Salk, who is a doctor that found the cure to polio, I think. It's been a bit. Anywho, he said he just sat down at a coffee shop with him and kind of sat down the same way that I sat down with Jeremy. And Dr. Salk says, obviously you don't know anything about me, and got up and walked out. And Brian was like, I'm a movie producer. Like, you should be excited to meet me. And he didn't really prepare to meet Dr. Salk, and he just got up and walked out. So be prepared. Be prepared. Number 5, everyone has a story. Learn that story. No one is unimportant. No one should be thought of as, lesser than or not as good. So figure out what their story is, and their story might be hidden under 15 questions. And so you've got to keep digging until you find their story.
I'm going rogue again. So here I am doing what I do. This reminds me of the Third Door book.
Yeah. Yeah, that's great.
I think that's a good book to read because of the progression of the writer learning how to talk to people.
Yeah. It's a great book.
Like, you should read the book just for example's sake, but he learns how to interview people well. And he talks about all the times he doesn't do it well and all the times he asks questions that he wish he wouldn't have wasted time on and dug into more of who the person was versus maybe their accomplishment that he was after at the first place. Anyway, sorry, aside, it's a good book.
It's a great book. Number 6, after you've learned a little bit more about that new person that you've met, who can you connect them with? Who in your other Rolodex of people? Is Rolodex still a thing? Am I old? In your Rolodex of people that you know, who can you connect them with?
In your circle of friends, for all of those who
you go.
are younger than both of us and don't know what a Rolodex is. It's basically the contacts portion of your
phone. Oh my gosh. Yep. That's what I meant.
That used to be on paper, and that's what Andrew's referring to. But essentially, this question really is, how do you serve them well? So if you're like, oh, you and my friend so-and-so are really going to hit it off because you both enjoy fly fishing in Montana at 5:00 in the morning, then I'm going to introduce y'all some way, or I'm going to have you both over at my house so that you can talk about fly fishing at 5:00 in the morning in Montana.
That's right. So it's being useful. So this isn't just, a meeting to have coffee. Like there's something, you're getting something out of this.
Yeah. Back to your doctor, whatever his name was, example, who
Jonas Salk.
Thank you. I'm sorry, doctor man. I think this is a good time to talk about how they've given you time.
That's right.
And time is maybe the most precious thing, if you think about it. Like, that can never, you can earn more money. You can replace something that's stolen. Time, you don't ever get back. Every minute of your day, you don't get that back. So the fact that they're there to talk to you
is very
means
generous.
a lot. Yeah, it's very generous.
That's right.
So leading to that, you should be appreciative. And how do you show your appreciation? It doesn't mean you spend money on them all the time, but you might buy them coffee or a really great cinnamon roll or both.
That's right.
If you really want to get in their good graces, especially if you want to get in Andrew and I's good graces. We'll buy you coffee, but the cinnamon roll thing will automatically elevate you in both of our minds. Okay. I think number 9 is really important because no one likes to be ghosted.
That's right.
No one likes to feel like, oh, you're really interested in what I had to say for the 30 minutes that we got together, but then you never followed up. You never sent a text saying thanks for the time or tried to reconnect. And that doesn't mean that you have to be best friends and talk every day multiple times, but it does mean, like, back to what we were talking about at the very beginning, you don't ever want a person to feel used. So how are you intentional about follow-up in some form or fashion, even if it's just connecting on socials and like interacting with some of their stuff to show like, hey, I'm paying attention to you. Like, I care about your life. We might not meet every day for breakfast, but I'm keeping up with your family or with your hobby because I'm watching what you're doing online.
To yes and that, I would say, did you mention, hey, you should meet my buddy that is a fly fisherman in Montana? Like, follow up with that. Connect them. Be a person of your word. And that's just another really, really good touch point. Okay.
Agree.
Last one, number 10. Send them a thank you note. I had a professor once upon a time that said everybody is worth a stamp. And it's like, it takes you not long to write a thoughtful, genuine, sincere index card of a note. Like it's 3 sentences, 4 sentences.
Yeah.
And dropping it in the mail. And when they receive that handwritten note is going to mean so much more than a text message or an email thanking them. So everybody is worth a stamp.
I will say that anything is better than nothing.
Correct.
So if you know that, and I have a story about this and I'll come back to that. So if you know that you're just not the person that's going to remember to the next day take the 2 minutes to write a quick note and throw it in the mail, then at least send a text or an email saying thank you, because it shows your intentionality. But I will say I try to be really good about this. My mom like hammered this into us when we were growing up. It's like, write a note. Like, it's good for you to write a note. So after I had, I think it was Elijah, my second son, I wrote thank you notes for all the gifts. At the time, my other son was like 2.5. And we were in the middle of, like, my husband was changing jobs. It was a crazy season. It's no excuse. But what I did was wrote like 40 thank you notes and put them, quote, somewhere I wouldn't forget to send them. And did I remember that I put them there? No. Did I remember that I wrote them? Not really. I mean, sleep deprivation is real. And like, I don't know, 6 months later, I was cleaning out this particular spot that I had put things to not forget them, which tells you how great of a spot that was if I hadn't touched it in 6 months. And I pulled out this stack of 40 notes that I never mailed. And I felt so bad. But then I mailed them then. And then I texted all those people and I'm like, I realize this is inappropriately late, but I am grateful and sleep deprived. So thank you for your grace. I really am grateful. Maybe find a spot that's like in your car, like in the somewhere you're going to have to look every day with your keys. That's a better spot. With your phone.
And your Rolodex.
Something you leave. Yes.
I read a biography on George H.W. Bush, President 41. Mm-hmm. And he would meet people and then in his car before he left would write them a thank you note. And so he got into the habit of sending thank you notes immediately right after. And it's like, man, that's a really good practice. Not one that I have implemented into my own life, but a really good thought of, I'm just going to put a stack of thank you notes in, or a stack of stationery, whatever it is, in my glove box. And I'm going to write them as soon as we leave.
That's really brilliant, actually. Maybe we should both do that.
Yeah. Yeah. So there you go. How to network well. 10 easy steps. Rachel, what is our local find of the week?
The local find of the week, or the question is, what is the best local craft or good that you have discovered in the Nashville area?
So for me, this is a full circle episode. The gentleman that I met with the very, very first time I wanted to go into this was Jeremy Mitchell of Mitchell Bat Co. And he is a brilliant designer and makes hand-painted baseball bats and hockey sticks, and they are absolutely stunning. So if you are someone that is a baseball or hockey enthusiast and needs some memorabilia, check out Mitchell Bat Co. What about you?
Great answer.
What about you?
There is a place called Batch Nashville, and I know the founder. Long story, but his wife and I worked together formerly. And so when he started this, I was like, that's a great idea. And I've bought multiple things, like for people moving to town or just like visitors that are coming or whatever. I go to Batch, and they usually have gift baskets that are already done. And it might be like Olive Sinclair chocolate and some, like, I don't know, hygiene good, like lotions or something. I don't know, in Nashville, but it's all sorts of stuff, really. But they are really in touch with like a lot of the local small business vendors. And I feel like that's a great place to go discover maybe some future favorites.
That's a great spot. Great note.
They used to have a place in the farmer's market before COVID, and I have not been back to the farmer's market at downtown. I've been to farmer's markets, just not the downtown one, since COVID. So I'm not sure if their like physical pop-up place is still in there, but their website is great. I think it's just batchnashville.com. And I think they've actually expanded to some different cities in the Southeast. So maybe like Charleston or Atlanta, I'm not sure, but they had different options at one point. But I know there's a Nashville, so Batch Nashville.
Let's mention our sponsor one more time. Posh Franklin is located in the heart of historic downtown Franklin. They bring together a unique collection of the best brands, the latest fashions, and signature finds to help you define and express your unique style. 15% off at Posh Franklin if you mention Kangaroost. We also have a discount code for signing up for Kangaroost.
We do. First month, the words, and 50. So first month 50 gets you half off of your first month subscription to Kangaroost. So
Kangaroost.com. We'd love to meet you for coffee. We'd love to network with you. So if you would like to reach out, Andrew at kangaroos.com, Rachel at kangaroos.com, and we'll get something set up soon. That's it. We'll see you guys next week.
See you next week.